Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Mostaghimi to the stage.
Thank you for inviting me, Mahbub. And when I asked what I should talk about, he said about creating opportunities and so on. So I'm going to tell you a couple of stories, perhaps from my experience at the University of Toronto, which has resulted in some interesting opportunities for many people. It was about 10 years ago. I was at the time Vice Dean for Research in the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering. And I knew this fellow, Scott Tanner, from many conferences that I had gone in analytical chemistry. And he was working for MDS-SciX. MDS-SciX is an spin-off company from U of T back in 1973 from Aerospace Institute for Aerospace Studies. Barry French was the person who started. And they practically invented mass spectrometer. Mass spectrometer is a device that measures trace elements. And the degree of accuracy of these devices are amazing. They can, these days, measure 1 per quadrillion. What is a quadrillion? It's 1 with 15 zeros in front of it. So they can measure 1 out of 10 to the power 15 in these devices. So these are very important devices. So Scott was working for MDS-SciX for 25 years. He had this idea. He thought it's going to revolutionize the cure for cancer because you could recognize everything much faster. And SciX was not interested in terms of their strategic plan, so he decided with his team to come out of SciX. Can you imagine? He had a very high position and so on. And try his luck at the university. So he contacted me if I can find a place for him and so on, which I did. But of course, they didn't have any position. We had to appoint them as adjunct, which means university doesn't pay anything. They should bring their own funding to the university. And here comes the government of Ontario, ORF, Ontario Research Fund, through some of their programs, supported them to the tune of millions of dollars for a few years. And I actually had a small project doing it for them. It was a big system. So they built it. They also spun off a company called DVS Sciences. And in 2008, 2009, they sold their first system to Stanford Medical School, which brings a lot of credibility to what you're doing, basically. And then a second system to Stanford. And in about 4 years ago, they got 2 offers. One from PerkinElmer. It's a multi-billion-dollar American firm, which is in Waltham, Massachusetts, close to Boston. And one from Fluidigm. It's a San Francisco company. Fluidigm offer was lower, but they felt it's a better offer for their future, $170 million US. So you're talking about a few years and getting this done. So Fluidigm has bet their future on them. And what did they do? They basically have moved to this area because expertise is here and the talent is here. Government support is crucial because it's much cheaper to do research here in Ontario than if you go to do in New York, in California, because of programs like the ones that Dr. Moridi offered through MRI, Ministry of Research and Innovation. So it was 2 weeks ago that they officially opened. They are in Markham, in fact. They have 100 employees, and they are hiring another 100 pretty soon. They have asked me to send as many as I can, for example, to them. So as you can see, academia, entrepreneurship, and government play a huge role in making things happen. Now, this is one story. Scott Tanner is now happily retired, enjoying his life, because usually when you are so passionate about the technology and you make a company once they buy it from you, they say goodbye. So he is very well off now. And as I mentioned to you before, PerkinElmer is a huge company. They have a Center of Excellence here in Toronto. It's in Woodbridge, actually, very close to here. Their job is also what we call ICP-MS, inductively coupled plasma mass spectrometry, again for trace element analysis. These systems, they use argon as to generate plasma. Plasma is an ionized gas for those who do not know what is it's not the blood plasma. This is an ionized gas. And they call it fourth state of matter because 99.9% of universe is plasma. Sun is a plasma, for example. So you need to have a plasma in order to make ions, basically, and then you extract them because mass spectrometer needs ions to detect these things. Now, these torches, they use argon, about 20 liters per minute, and they work 10 hours a day, and the argon is then just exhausted in the ambient air. Now, here, okay, we are rich and so on, so they can afford doing that. But if you go to, underdeveloped countries, that's not the case. So that has limited the expansion of this important technology into places in Africa and so on. So the idea was that can we recycle argon? So this is the work that we have done, and right now it is working after a year. And who is supporting it? Ontario Centers of Excellence, again, is supporting that, and Perkin-Elmer. And they're quite happy because in a year's time, they'll be ready to put it into a product because you have to not only recycle it, but then you have to clean it because the quality of the argon going into the system should be the same as the one which is coming out of the bottle, basically. So this is, again, is going to generate a lot of interesting things. And these activities are all done here, right here in Ontario. And without the support of Ontario government, federal government, these things are not really possible. Last but not least, I saw my friend here, Mr. Zereshkian, sitting there. We've been working for a couple of years. I had a project which was funded by Grand Challenges Canada. That's a federal program which is healthcare related, and you have to have a partner in underdeveloped countries. So we had some connections through Mount Sinai Hospital to Lima, Peru, some healthcare facilities, and we had developed coatings which are antibacterial, so that copper kills bacteria. So you can basically make coatings and it passively kills bacteria, which is very nice. But we learned during the course of this study that one of the issues that they have here in Mount Sinai is Dr. Alison McGeer. She's often in the news when you hear things about. Said the sinks are a big problem because, the water sits there and lots of bacteria is formed. And Mr. Zereshkian had a technology for it, which we got money through Engage, NSERC program, which is called Engage, and proved that it is correct. And now we've got permission from U of T to install it in a few washrooms, and we're going to go to Ontario Center of Excellence to get the necessary data so that we can commercialize this. So what my message is that academia is important, but without government support and a combination of collaboration between all these parties, things will not happen. But once it happens, it really is joyous. You feel really good about it, and very nice. So I want to thank you for your attention, and thank you again for inviting me.